Hello there, folks, and hello again, Sadio. Is that how you pronounce your name? Sadio? You want to learn some Scottish accent. I do realise that my accent may be a bit difficult for non-Scottish people. It isn't that difficult a Scottish accent compared to some of the other ones. I mean, I could talk like a Glaswegian, you can, and then you probably wouldn't ken a fucking thing I'm on about. And also Scottish people do talk quite fast. And if I've got an idea in my head, sometimes I kind of, try to get it out quickly, and it probably goes over the top of, anyone that's not from these parts, over the top of their head. So I do apologise for that. I'll try and speak a bit more slowly. I know Billy Connolly used to say when he was performing in England, he didn't change his accent, but he did have to slow down a bit and move his lips more as well, because he used to say Scottish people don't move their lips when they're talking and they point with their feet. You'd have to see the clip with it. Where's the cathedral, big man? All right, it's over there. And he points with his toe. Anyway, so here we are again, folks, on another Shooting the Shit, episode number 3. If you're out there and watching and you want to leave a comment, say something, ask a question, say hello, it'd be nice to hear from you. I don't really have any kind of script or plan with these things. Basically, I kind of fell out with Facebook. I don't really like it that much with regard to just the mudslinging and all the kind of. I just think we would better spend our time, dealing in real life. So, and then I would post things, or anytime I used to get into a conversation, and then people would comment, and then I would leave my comment, then the conversation just used to end. And I would post, lots of things, and nobody ever replied to them. So I just kind of gave up. For many past few years, I just post music and I post the lyrics, and hopefully that, if people are interested, nobody even likes them either, but it's just for my own amusement. Basically, sometimes, hello Stephen, sometimes I would, I see you've got that, the truth would scare 99% of you, shitless, what do you call it, profile. It's quite a good one, that, especially after the picture I showed you yesterday on the stream. If you missed that one, folks, if you go to yesterday's Shooting the Shit number 2 with Stephen, towards the end of it, I showed a picture of an actual, what do you want to call it, an alien or a reptile, but a real live alien, except it was dead. I have to remember for the non-Scottish people. But basically, we've been desensitized, or actually it's part of probably predictive programming, not pre-predictive programming, predictive programming, so that when you see that picture, you kind of go, oh, because we've seen so many of these reptiles, whatever, in all the different movies. But if you actually think that is a real creature, and the first night I seen that, I was like, all right, it's quite mad. But the next day, it just kept popping into my head, and that thing's fucking real. Basically, the reptile-like creature, reptoid, ate this guy's daughter. It used to come out from under a cave or whatever. So they set a tripwire, and then they chased it the next night it came out, and cut its head off. So that was a real picture there. Because, when David Icke came out with the reptile theory, I was into David Icke. I say into him, basically he watched one of his videos, and that was the first one that kind of opened my eyes to maybe the world isn't as it seems. So I didn't hang off every word, but I bought, what books did I buy? The Truth Shall can't say it. The Truth Shall Set You Free. That was quite a big one. That was more the meat and potatoes of the conspiracy. So he's going into the Bilderberg Group and the Council on Foreign Relations and all that stuff, which you don't hear about in the news, amazingly enough. Why don't the news say, good evening, folks. Tonight, on top of a Swiss mountain with highly, lots of security around the mountain, nobody can actually go up to the top of this mountain. All the world leaders, Democrats, Republicans, Conservative, Labour, all the red and blue parties in every country, basically all the head of businesses, they all have a private meeting, and none of you are invited, and we don't report it on the news except for tonight, obviously, because it's Billy Watson TV. But, so that kind of made me think, well, why is that not getting reported? And then the next book he brought out was, of course, what was it called? Was it called The Reptilian Agenda? I think it might have been called that. Or something, The Matrix. Anyway, it was the one where he revealed Children of the Matrix, or if anyone, what was the name of the David Icke book where he exposed the reptiles, and he was interviewing Credo Mutwa and Arizona Wilder. And Arizona Wilder's actually distanced herself from that interview he gave, because if you don't know Arizona Wilder, she gave an interview with David Icke where she said that she was doing satanic rituals for the royal family, and she's seen them shapeshift into a reptile creature and back again, and while they're doing all this blood drinking and stuff. And she's now claiming that she was basically under duress and kind of pressured into doing that interview. So anyway, that he was very much, this shape-shifting thing. But now I think he says it's more of like a spiritual thing, where like there may be the demonic. You see some interviews actually with George W. Bush's daughter, is it Jenna Bush? There's quite a few videos of her, and different ones where kind of their humanness breaks down. Some kind of scaly skin comes, and like their eyes go black. If you search YouTube, you see things like that. So I think it's more like if they're possessed with these demons and stuff, or I don't know, maybe their humanness breaks down. There's actually some interviews with David Icke starting to turn reptilian as well. So maybe he was just, again, putting the truth out there and getting us ready for a big reveal. Because here's something that could be on the agenda. Like, for instance, Fukushima. Okay, now obviously that was a tragic event, but you've got to ask yourself, why was Fukushima built on a kind of, what's it called, a fault line, yeah? And also they had all these things on top of the reactors, so that when it did have the accident, it was really, really bad, and I think they're still getting results of this radiation spreading everywhere. And so there's a theory going around that maybe they're kind of changing the environment here from how it used to be to like a more radioactive type environment, so that when they do the massive kill of the population, only the kind of strong humans can survive, and it's also, or they'll just wipe us all out, and the reptiles that are living underneath the ground, there's more, they would exist in a more kind of radioactive type polluted atmosphere, so it's going to prepare the earth for them coming up. And basically that's, some people claim that is the alien agenda, and that's why they're trying to get rid of us through vaccinations. And because there's always a bigger issue than obviously what we get told. But even when you start to search for the truths, you can go down different pathways and think you've got to the grand finale kind of reason behind it. But I think there's sometimes bigger agendas within, like Russian dolls, basically. So the first one is they want people vaccinated with a microchip in them for obviously control, track and tracing and all that kind of stuff. Total control, do away with money. But maybe it's also to kill quite a lot of us off and get the planet to themselves, because I think they think that they are belonging to Earth, and obviously we're here too. So maybe we should just pick continents. Everyone have a continent. I was watching a documentary recently. There's lots of these things. I'm sure Stephen and anyone else out there who have studied conspiracies and all this kind of thing, alternative information from the mainstream. There's so many different things that it's hard to make sense of it all, and sometimes there's like conflicting views, but you don't know which one to believe. Like, for instance, the spinning ball, we're on a spinning ball, a big 1,000 miles per hour supposed to be spinning and all this kind of thing, and you look around and you don't see any evidence of that. And then when all this flat air stuff come out, there's lots of people doing evidence of, you can see certain buildings, very far away. So if the curvature of the earth, what they're telling us is as it is, then we shouldn't see those buildings, or mountains and stuff like that. So therefore the earth must be flat. Well, I was talking to a guy who I interviewed in 2012 called Stephen D. Kelly, and who I mentioned in the past two shooting the ship videos. I actually was trying to arrange another interview with him. He's been kicked off of Facebook altogether, so I'll not be able to do it here. So I was arranging that with him last night, and we kind of jumped onto an impromptu interview on another meeting room that I've got, just to kind of check it out. And yeah, so I forgot what I was going to say now. he was basically telling me, he was telling me that the Earth is in fact round. He was in the CIA and he was expert in lasers and all this stuff, so he knows about getting things straight. And they explained it in great detail for like 20 minutes, how gravity, I said, no, gravity hasn't been proven and stuff like this, and I thought everything was density, like things fall by weight. That's why a helium balloon will go up and gravity won't hold it down. But he was saying something like gravity is like information within this kind of matrix, and basically the Earth does have a curvature, and it's actually got a big plasma ball in the center of it, and he agrees with the hollow Earth thing and everything, and all the aliens and everything under there. And as I meant, oh, for God's sake, what's happened? All right, my TV just went blank. It's come back. Hi, so I'm going to get Stephen D. Kelly on another interview, and then I'll put a link in the channel to go and watch him, and hopefully we'll get a few interviews with him, because he's got tons of information. He's high level kind of conspiracy theorist. I hate that term. Anyone who doesn't know where it came from, JFK, when he got assassinated, the CIA told the media to use this term conspiracy theorist for anyone that questioned that. And then, of course, even the David Icke thing, when he wore the turquoise shell suit and went on Wogan, and then became a figure of ridicule. That kind of, now anyone talks about conspiracy theories, people, I think, was it you, Stephen, that said you were called, when you started talking about this COVID-19 being a scam, you were called, what was that, a David Icke nutter or something like that, yeah? So basically, if you start to talk outside of the box, you're just labelled, you're like David Icke, you're a fucking nutter. And again, when he was doing the reptile stuff, he done it in such a way that it was quite outlandish. And there wasn't the Queen shape-shifting, and we've got this idea of her shape-shifting into a physical, pure reptile and then back, but maybe it's more like a demonic kind of entity. Who knows? It's a very weird world to try and make sense of, isn't it, folks? That's why you've got to question the BBC News and the bullshit. He's called a David Icke, David Icke bastard. That's brilliant. I've been called, you're a David Icke nutter and stuff, but you're a David Icke bastard. It's a great put down. So, but this is the point. I've just got this picture up here, we're talking about the government's fault, and I want to bring this back to, we have to take responsibility for what's happening. And we say, the government are controlling us and stuff, and indeed they are, but they can't do it without our pure acquiescence. And the fact that we don't understand the very simple things that control our everyday lives, we just take them for granted, i.e. the birth certificate. What do you do when you're born? Well, you register your child. That's the first thing you do. Well, what you're doing when you register is Regis, and that means to give ownership to the king. So you're basically giving your child into slavery at that point, and it becomes a ward of the state, a citizenship. So basically it's like on a ship. We're on a citizenship. You're a citizen of the ship. And what happens in the maritime law when you're on a ship? Well, the laws of the land, common law, doesn't apply. So you have to abide by the captain, because if you're on a ship and you do anything stupid, the whole crew could be in danger. So that's why they had different rules for the ship. Well, they brought the maritime laws onto the land. That's why we've got bank, currency, in the dock, getting birthed. The ship gets birthed, you get birthed, and you're a vessel, because you are not your body. You are the consciousness, and the body is the vessel, but they own the body. In the Vatican, I've got something called the Cest QV Trust. I think it was 1666. and whereby they say, yeah, it's Crown copyright. You basically, that's right, the Crown copyright. We shouldn't actually use our birth certificate. It's actually illegal. They've got the copyright of it, so we shouldn't ever technically use it. But because we do use it, then we use that same birth certificate to get a driver's license, which is a bit bizarre, all this license stuff. For instance, like you can't fish, but you've got a license, and then all of a sudden it's all right, it's illegal. You get a magic license, and then basically it's all right to fish in certain places. Hello, Steve. I don't think I've been in touch with you before. Steve Valley. The cognitive dissonance, yeah, it's unbelievable, isn't it, mate? It's incredible. It's I've said that quite a lot. It feels like you're talking to a wall. It's just like when this coronavirus thing started, and I was at work, and before the lockdown happened, I was just telling people, no, don't believe it. There's no virus. This is a pile of shite. And I was also interviewed Mark Steele, who's been kicked off of YouTube and Facebook, and he was talking about the 5G weapon technology. That's actually a directed microwave weapon, and all your street lamps that got changed into these LCD ones. Well, if you actually look inside them, they've got they're basically designed to kill us, right? Which is why when the second wave comes, if they start turning up this 5G technology that was all installed, quite a lot of it when the lockdown happened, how were they essential workers? But they seem to be putting them up everywhere. But basically, I told this woman at work, that 5G thing out there, the lamppost, it's a microwave weapon. It's designed to kill you. And she just looked at me. And then she looked at another woman and just started talking. It's just as if I never spoke at all. It's just like, did I actually speak? Am I a real thing? It's incredible. And yeah, I think basically this is what I'll show you this one now. So basically we're complicit. We have to understand that these things are a great YouTube channel called Justonian Deception. The guy posted a video today. I've watched nearly all of his videos, but I watched about 10 minutes of one today where, again, it explains this, how we should be the benefactor. Basically, we should be getting the benefits of all the state and the Vatican stuff, but they've tricked it, whereby now we're the debtor, and because there is no benefactor, they automatically become the benefactor. And also this in this SQV trust, if we don't claim to be alive, then we're essentially lost at sea after 7 years, and the Vatican claim everything that's lost at sea. And that's exactly what we are. So we shouldn't even go into courts. When you go into a court, well, first of all, it's like, what is a tennis court? It's a place to play a game, isn't it? So you're in this court to play this game. And the judge is wearing black. Why is he wearing black? Well, he's to honour the dead. Who's the dead? Well, you're the dead, because you're going in there and you're answering to the legal name fiction, which is your straw man, which is a piece of paper. It's stationary. It doesn't move. Yeah? The archontic inversion, that's another way of putting it, yep. Basically, everything on this planet, you've got education's indoctrination, health is actually profiting from you being ill, law and orders, justice is like just us, just for the rich, everything is inverted here. This is why it's such a madhouse. So, yeah, and the judge is also, he wears the wool wig, doesn't he? Why is that? Well, first of all, he's a wolf in sheep's clothing. And also, apparently, the wig is like hiding his actions. They believe hiding their actions and thoughts from God so that God can't see the evil intent. Because you think a lawyer and a solicitor is representing you, but basically they swear an oath to the bar. So they represent and they work for the bar, because it's all about, to do with commerce, as the whole system is, and they know that. And I'm not saying your policemen in the bottom level know it, but the higher up you go, that's why the policemen, they're just trained to be the guy at the bottom. What's your name? What's your address? As soon as you give your name and address, well, you don't know who you are. You think you're a dead legal fiction. That's why I can beat the shit out of you and have no repercussions, because you're just the Walking Dead. They tell us in all the movies, It's weird. It's like, I think it's like some kind of mad puzzle that we've all got to try and figure out to kind of, it could be like a birthing of humanity at this period, It's like, are we going to come out the womb. It's like messy, isn't it? When like a child's been born, like blood and that everywhere. So, and then this new life comes out of it. I think it's like a choice right now what's going to happen. Maybe on an individual level, if maybe some people talk about bifurcation, whereby the realities could split, and those are in tune with a higher dimension or whatever, or higher energy frequency, operating at a higher vibration, not eating heavy foods and stuff like that, and maybe meditating, not eating meat and dairy things and things that make your energy low. They can maybe go to 5D, and the ones who are quite happy and living the life of a zombie and not really being truly human and truly alive, maybe they're got destined to spend another 26,000 years on the karmic wheel of samsara or something like that. These are just ideas, folks. I don't know what's going to happen. It's just you read different things. Some people believe in all this 5D ascension and stuff like this. Mark Simser, I've not heard of him, but what's he talking about? They notarized his death certificate in order to become the living mind. Yeah, there's another guy, Mark Christopher, and that's the name of his YouTube channel, and I done a 12-week course with him, a webinar course he's basically got this a live claim of birth. So what I said before is, if you don't claim that you're a living being and you don't inform the powers that be that you are alive, and basically you need 2 other witnesses. If you do it with 3 people, you can do this together. I've actually got all the documentation and paperwork, but I've not actually followed through in it. You get a piece of hair, and you get maybe your fingerprint and a couple of other things, and you do this. You create this document yourself, and you stamp it, and you send it through the post office, because like the post office is like the highest kind of government in the land, and all these other governments that we call governments is just like subservient to that. That's why on your driver's license, there's a number down the bottom. So they give you this fancy card. I've got one on my desk over there, but basically it's a fancy card to make it, this is your license, but really it's this wee number down in the bottom that's the important part. It just shows it's been through the post office system. So anyway, if you tell the Vatican, there's also another thing he does about being a sea captain or something like that. I can't remember correctly, but check out his work, Mark Christopher, Justinian Deception. In the past, I started getting into this because of 2 people. It was John Harris, he was the first one that kind of brought all this knowledge into the internet, I would say. There's the People's United Community was a good website for a while. There's lots of people wanting to become freemen stuff, free men on the land. And then there was Kate of Gaia. She was, there was posters going up everywhere, like it's illegal to use the legal name. And, basically Kate of Gaia, Santos Bonacci, another guy called Tony Calvert, they used to do a show where they talked about these things quite a lot. And Kate and Santos both ended up, trying to fight the system, and they were writing all kinds of things to the Vatican and trying to live outside of the system. But the system have got their ways of, dragging you in, and basically if you want to inform lots of people about this, they don't look too kindly on it. So, but yeah, John Harris was really good. I actually went to see John Harris. I videoed him. There's a video of me videoing John Harris in Edinburgh. I asked to interview him after about, he's quite a modest kind of guy, and he says he's not doing it for his ego. He ended up killing himself, apparently. I don't know exactly what happened, but he was kind of some people say he was kind of used by some people to put this information out there, but he was a troubled soul, I think. But he seemed quite nice and genuine, and he done great work, as you say, Stephen. A lot of people kind of become aware of these things because of that. So he's still got stuff on the internet. If you look up John Harris, it's kind of basic level, opening your eyes up to these things, how we're controlled, So that's why we're always complicit. That's why I don't shout, Nicola Sturgeon, I don't have a lot of time for her. I think she's a traitor, as they all are. Bojo and all this. They are not working for the people, This is a myth. Even in America, they talk about what do you call it? The independence, the Declaration of Independence and all this stuff. But what actually was, I think it was 45 official, but possibly up to the 53 signatures that were on that, 45 of them at least, were all Freemasons, including obviously George Washington. And there's a lot more I could go into about George Washington, but basically, we the people that they signed the Declaration of Independence wasn't speaking for everyone, we the people. It was speaking for those specific 53 families. That's why I don't think the Declaration of Independence matters a jot. And, you know, and basically folk have got their guns, and the government, when they feel like it, could theoretically just go and take them. They don't pay any heed to these documents. I think the Magna Carta does hold some weight, and basically that's the kind of thing we should be getting back to. Basically, the law of the land, you know, common law, because a police officer, a police whatever system could be good if it was done correctly, you know, and not just there to be a policy enforcer, to profit, to fine you, just to make money from you. It's all part of the control system as well, you know. So if we had a police who is acting, because obviously murder and stuff like this, you shouldn't do, and there should be appropriate penalties. Basically, your conscience should keep you right. If everyone governed themselves properly, we wouldn't need government at all. The very idea of government. There's a great book by Larkin Rose. What's it called? The Most Dangerous Superstition. I've just actually lent it to my son's friend. Yeah, police service. That's it. But most police, you know, what happened to the friendly Bobby? You know, you get a clip around your ear, and there you go, son. And they knew that all the local people and stuff like that. But now these policemen are brainwashed and trained. For instance, when you get the Antifa and stuff, and they're all fighting, you know, and then the police come in heavy-handed, they love all that, because what's happening? The police are going to need more funding then, aren't they? If it were all peaceful, they'd be out of a job. My tea's getting cold. Emma makes my tea for me before every thing, just so I flash the cup that she bought me for Christmas. So I try to remember to drink it. But yeah. So what was I saying? Basically, yeah, we should be on friendly terms with the police. We should. Why is it when you see a policeman, you shit yourself? You know, like, fuck, what have I done? You know, we shouldn't be terrified of the police. We should be friends with them. We actually need the police on our side big time, as well as the army, for, you know. Nice mug. Do you mean this or the cup? But there's, again, because of people's conditioning and brainwashing, it's very hard to get through to these. You know, your average guy in the street. You were saying, you talk to them and it just bounces off them like a wall. With the police, they're all basically trained to just get your name and, you know, process you basically. And I believe at the end of some months they go out and collect extra revenue if they've not met their totals. It's like they've got goals, you know, targets to meet, and how much fucking fines they're going to get out of the people, which is absolutely insane, because everything's a corporation. What is a corporation? It's a corpse. Again, it's a dead thing, isn't it? And that's the birth certificate. So everything's a corporation. Your legal name, your chattel, you're effectively traded on the stock market through your birth certificate. And the Conservative Party is a corporation, the police is a corporation, the Tory Party, even some, I think John Harris actually went into a lot of this stuff. He was explaining how Gordon Brown is in fact a corporation. You know, everything's just designed to make money. Steve is asking, do I think it's all going to change soon? I think it's changing big time, and I don't think it's going back to normality. You know, I hate this word normality. What is fucking normal in this insane asylum that we're all living in? You know, especially now, but before, I don't know. You're not born just to get up, go to some shitty job, to come home, pay some bills, just to buy food that grows on trees. This is a thing I keep saying when I start to talk to people, you know. It's quite a good way to make them go, huh? Because you say, the government, yeah, they work for us, yeah, they care about us. That's why they're making us all mask up and socially distance, because they're so caring. They're trying to look after everybody here, obviously, because, you know, that's their job. They're a government. It's like our mummy and daddy, isn't it? They must love us. Well, if they loved us so much, instead of all these stupid shit. They build parks and put all these flowers in them and do all this crap and spend all the money and do whatever they do. Why don't they just plant greenhouses and trees with lots of fruit and vegetables on it, you know? Why don't they... you feel the love of the government, aye? It's like Orwell's, you know, the boot getting stamped on the human face forever. That's the kind of love that the government are dishing out. But again, maybe it's tough love. This is what I was saying before. Maybe this is like humanity has to wake up now. The evil is getting pushed in our face so much, you know? It's getting rammed down the throat. It's like you've got to now. This is I wasn't posting stuff about these kind of things on Facebook before. Now this is all kicking off. I'm just like posting memes just to fucking chuck it out there to let people know you can. If you think this stuff, you're not alone. Okay, I'm thinking it too. I'll actually like. There's a comedian called Craig Campbell who I'm actually going to have on the show on Wednesday. Craig Allen Campbell is his name on Facebook. I love what he says here because he doesn't hold anything back. He just says, "You're a fucking idiot," and boof. So I seen that and I friended him up. Then I contacted him last night, so I'm going to have him on the show. So that should be interesting on Wednesday. But yeah, I just post these memes just to let you know that, you know, it's okay to think these things. We have to think these things. This is us. We have to wake up now. Because I've wrote about these things. I've performed comedy. Like 2 days after September 11th, I read a poem called The Plain Facts, which basically said it was the government's fault and shit like that. I've done a performance of that on stage, like literally 2 days after September 11th, and the reaction was stunned silence. You kind of, how could anyone possibly think that? And that's the reason I got into comedy. I was basically trying to wake people up, and I thought I could do it by that, you know, but I just felt it was futile, and I ended up talking about shagging or whatever just to try and appease the masses and try and find a way in. You can drag these people in, you know. But now I'm just posting this stuff just to let you guys know that we've got to share this information. We've got to wake up now as a people. This is it. Normality ain't coming back. We're not going back to football. Oh, there's a picture here. I've got it loaded into my system. Hold on, I'll bring this one up first and then I'll show you this. Because in the BBC News today, oh my God, the BBC website, they've got these gigs. You know, we want music gigs to come back. So somebody's came up with this great idea of these platforms that are kind of 5 feet in the air or something, and they've got 3 people on each platform, and they're all spread out like 15 feet apart over this field. And bands are going to get up on a stage and play to these 3 people on a platform. And one person from each platform is allowed to go to the toilet at one time. You can't have 2 people from a platform, otherwise, you know, kind of all hell will break loose. It's absolutely fucking ridiculous, the amount of control, and the people are accepting this. This is what happened. I went to see, my first gig I went to was Depeche Mode in 1983. Was it 83? It would have been around about then. Aye, they had the song Master and Servant and just can't get enough. And then I went to see Iron Maiden with Eddie, I think it was 1984. And if you've ever been to the Edinburgh Playhouse, or maybe in Glasgow it was the Apollo, and I'm sure back in the day, remember there was excitement and people used to love music and everyone rammed down the front and we stood in the seats and it was, yeah, fucking go, let's go rock and roll, you know? Well, health and safety fucking kicked in, didn't it? And then I went to see Lou Reed of the Velvet Underground, right? Who got a song called Heroin, aye? So pretty rock and roll. I actually seen the Velvet Underground off my tits on acid in the Edinburgh Playhouse as well, and I didn't want to dance at that one, because I was wasted. But in the Lou Reed one, I wanted to dance, so I goes into this gig, and I said to the woman, I actually said to her, I want to stand up the very back. I don't want to sit in my seat. I just want to stand up the back and get into the music myself, because I knew they were going to do. You can't go down the front. You've got to sit in your seat. And then the woman forced me into the seat, so this song came up, and I went down the front. And then the bouncers came, you've got to sit back up, go back up there. So I went back to the same place I was originally asking to dance. And then I was left alone. I was dancing up there. By this, I was like, fuck it. And I skipped right down in front of the Playhouse when this Turning the Tide was the Lou Reed song. I was just kicking into gear. And I started fucking going, well, yeah, come on, by myself, right? And I turned around to the crowd, come on, let's go, fucking rock and roll. What's happened to your spirit? Come on. And the crowd are looking at me, what do we do? What do we do? And then the bouncers are across, get back in your seat or we'll throw you out. I was like, I'm not going back in my seat. Lou Reed's kind of playing, looking what the fuck's going on. I actually got mentioned in the Edinburgh Evening News the next night because basically the security staff threw me out because I was dancing at a rock and roll concert. That's fucking insane, is it not? These kind of things have been incremental and just killing our soul and our spirit, our humanity, and we've just put up with them over time. And now it's time to claim our humanity back, basically. Any of you guys agree with that, Ian? It's just mental. I'm just going to take this logo off just now until we read this. Because although people are controlled, you've got to feel some kind of sympathy. We can't actually read that very well, but it's like a war going on in our human spirit, you know? We've got mercury in our teeth, we've been injected. I've had vaccinations, I don't know about you guys, but they're no good. We're breathing in the chemtrails that got all kinds of shit in it. Our food, the processed foods are fucking unbelievable. The amount of shite that's in them. If you read, even aspartame and stuff like that, that's a poison. But again, it's our negligence, isn't it? Because we don't read what's on the 666 barcode. I know some of you all know that that's coded with that. And basically, all these chemicals are in it. We don't take the time to go and study what's in them. Because if we did, we'd realise that it's poisons, basically. So we're just willingly complicit in our own destruction. And this is how we've got to wake up to this. So this, plandemic that's kicking off, it's making a lot of people look into our own health now, because it's made me, in the past, I thought, okay, you could catch a cold and, whatever, just general things that people have been brainwashed with. But then I says, okay, they're talking about this coronavirus. I knew it was shite from the word go. But when you start researching it, you understand that a virus is actually a good thing and it's created within your own body and it's not contagious and all this stuff is a big, massive lie. But it's our own ignorance. And that's what these people who are not looking into it because they're scared. Because, again, they need their government because they've got no idea how to survive without it. And, in fact, we should be scared because as a people, can we really survive without the nanny state? We can't grow our own food. We can't build our own houses. Why don't we get taught these things at school? We should be all thinking of, learning practical skills at school instead. I couldn't wait to go out of school because apart from drama and secretarial studies where I learned to type, I enjoyed drama and reading and writing. I thought the rest of it was a load of bollocks, And I didn't want to go any further down the university path, just like get me out of this education. It's a load of shit. And you find that the people who do go down the university road, and the more clever they come, they go to Harvard and stuff like that, the more indoctrinated they are, and the more they believe all this bullshit. And they walk around like in my work. There's grown men walking around with these stupid plastic masks that have got big gaps all around the side of them, and they're walking around like, what's that, Mickey the robot or something? Mickey, is there some 1980s fucking robot TV show? Anyway, it's just so sad to see. But again, what other things I've got here? The schooling system, fear porn addicts, yeah. Fear porn, and also porn itself is very destructive in society as well, isn't it? I think it's an outrage. Before you had to try and find the porn mag somewhere, and that was a hard thing to do. If you got it, you had to make do with that. But the amount of pornography that's available and is flaunted on Twitter and stuff, and all your kids are getting to see this at a ridiculously young age, and children are getting the wrong idea of what sex is, and it's actually, not letting their brain develop properly and things like that, Yes, Sadio, people look ridiculous when they wear a mask. I was driving home the other day there with my window down, and there's like people in the street wearing a mask, and I just shouted out in my car, "Why the fuck are you wearing a mask?" I just can't stop myself. It just looks absolutely ridiculous. It's the most saddest thing ever. There was a guy today, he was like a big bulky lad, and he's got his girlfriend, they must have been 28, 30-ish, something like that. And this guy's wearing a mask. I was like, what a fucking pussy. You know what I mean? What happened to men being men? Oh, yeah, going back to the food. We got lots of testosterone and stuff in the food. They're genetically modifying us, Yeah. I agree with, some of this stuff about the tantric sex, there's there's lots of knowledge in the world these days that could be called quite luciferic, and I'm not sure how much we should be delving into all these things. To me, you should have sex with somebody you care about. Not this word love has got many facets to it, know. But I think you should at least have some kind of chemistry with the person, at least know their name. That would be a good start, But what do you get? You get these orgies and everything, don't you? I've never done them myself, but basically it's just a free-for-all, and we just think we're all just physical bodies. It's just your physical gratification. That's all the whole point of it, It's like a selfish thing. But actually, there's energies involved that we don't understand with sex, so we should be very much more choosy over who we choose to, have that type of connection with. Because I do believe that when you do have sex with somebody, there's always going to be some kind of connection with that person, unless maybe you do some kind of ritual or something to kind of cleanse yourself of it. But it's a very, it's not to be taken lightly, and definitely what happens at the end of every porn thing, it's the man's cum shot, and usually over the woman's face. So now 14-year-old girls are thinking, oh, this is how it's done, give me a bukkake. Hi. But if you actually understand, again, men should hold on to their semen. It's like your life force. It's actually part of your spinal fluid, if you want to look at it one way. And some people talk about the chrism oil raising it up to kind of become enlightened. That's something I'm still learning about, but I'm open to the possibility that these things, these functions, the body is set up in a specific way for that purpose. If these things are there, then basically they must have a reason. Yeah. They are telling us to have sex with different people is okay to find the right person. I don't believe that. More people. Well, I was watching Brave New World a couple of nights ago, and in Brave New World, it was written by Aldous Huxley around about 1936, around about that time. Who, again, Aldous Huxley was a member of the Fabian Society, and his brother, was it Julian Huxley? Julian Huxley? He was a big geneticist as well, as was Aldous Huxley, but especially Julian and their father. Basically, I forgot what I was going to say. So Aldous Huxley, basically, he, in the book, it was men and women who were just, they were encouraged, it was normal in the future not to have one partner. You're thought of as crazy if you just wanted one partner in Brave New World. Women would engage, they called it engaging. Going to engage, shall we engage tonight? Oh yes, let's engage, So they're basically, taking just, it becomes nonchalant. You just have sex with anyone, it doesn't really matter, It's just for your own gratification, which is wrong. I think we should just, learn about these things, talk about these things, and that's what I'm trying to do here. Again, I said, if anyone wants to come and have a chat, you're more than welcome. But you're saying about men becoming more like women as well. That's definitely happened. All these hairstyles, and but there's a war on us, isn't it? And they do it in movies, and like Will Smith's son is, God knows, I think, well, he kissed him, didn't he, on the lips on TV, so that was a bit weird. Yeah, they are fucking with us, because basically I think there's like some, say, an alien agenda or some kind of demonic thing going on where humans, I think we've got the potential to be like the highest consciousness, the enlightened ones, to have dominion over this earth and to kind of, hold a rightful place in the cosmos. That's if we can grow up. Maybe we've been at higher states before, and like a cataclysm has happened, and these guys have went underground, and we couldn't survive underground, and then they've come back, and they want to control us to get our energy and stuff like that. Yeah, there's lots of movies. If you even think about lots of pop stars and stuff like that, even things like the Beatles. A lot of people think the Beatles were the greatest thing ever, the Fab Four. But I actually believe that up until 1967 and Sgt. Pepper, I don't think the Beatles wrote any of their music. I think George Martin wrote their music, and they were just like the original boy band. And the reason I say up until 1967, I think Paul McCartney was replaced by what do they call him, Billy Shears, William Shepherd, or the guy who calls himself Paul McCartney now, and he's actually wrote books. I've actually got one of them through there, Billy Shears, but um, he's not written it. A guy called Thomas Uriat wrote it, but he has had a hand in writing it to reveal what was actually going on in the Beatles, and but it was done in like a fictional style, so people they can't come out and say this is true because anybody loses estate and stuff like that. But basically, there's a guy called Michael something, the Sage of Quay YouTube channel. He's done lots of stuff on Paul McCartney, but he's done a great 4-hour documentary recently that goes into the Beatles and how it was impossible for them to write the music based on their knowledge, their background, even the time in between albums and when they were touring and stuff like that. There's just absolutely no way, especially Rubber Soul, that had like 39 days to write, record, and put out Rubber Soul album. Basically, it was all written for them, and they just went there and done the vocals. And then you got the Rolling Stones, who was another part of the Tavistock, because you've got the good guys and the bad guys, and they were singing about sympathy for the devil and this kind of stuff. So, and then you have Laurel Canyon, all the artists that came out of there suddenly exploded out of this particular area, but all their parents, like for instance, Jim Morrison's father was the admiral on the Gulf of Tonkin warship that led to the Vietnam War on the false flag of the Gulf of Tonkin. Then you've got Stephen Stills, Neil Young, Joni Mitchell, Emmylou Harris, Jackson Browne, David Crosby. You could go on, Frank Zappa. So many more others that had high military personnel parents. So they got this recording contract, and the whole hippie scene didn't start in San Francisco. It came out of the Laurel Canyon. So it wasn't a spontaneous growth that we're all led to believe in peace and love. And that's another thing about the music. Yeah, it's quite a while ago that was happening. The frequency range got changed. So all the music now is tuned to 440 hertz. And that's quite dissonant, especially. So like when you get rock and roll music, Stephen, I think, plays a bit of punk. So it's like quite angry, which is good for that type of music. If you played that punk music at 432 hertz, it wouldn't have quite the same energy, but the 432 hertz is more of a natural vibe to the human body. So when we listen to the music at 440, it's a bit of dissonance. We're not getting as much as we could from the music, especially good music. There's lots of totally. I mean, what they've done was they created the art form. They used, like, I even think Bob Dylan's early tunes. All right, cool, Stephen. Well done. I think. How about you said the last 4 albums? I never knew you had albums out. You'll have to fucking send me some of them, mate. Be quite interested in hearing them. But so basically the whole, because they had lots of population after the war, they didn't want to go to war again. So we had this young generation coming up, and they were quite well read in those days. People read books and they were quite clever. You could, especially when you consider the youth of today or whatever. I mean, the youth of today could be clever because they're staring at their phones. If they used them in a better way than watching fucking, porn on Twitter, then they could be quite clever because you've got lots of things in there that they could be researching, like the protocols of the Learned Elders of Zion and fucking Agenda 21 and all this kind of stuff. So, so what they done was they created this hippie thing and got us all spacing out and fucking taking psychedelic drugs and LSD, and they've got a backstory for, was it Albert Hoffman or something like that, the so-called inventor of LSD. I think that was just another cover story. They have these cover stories just to get these things out in the public, and so what that done was, then anyone who believes in peace and love, you're just one of these hippies, you're a drug-taking hippie, and people just don't take it seriously, So again, that's another agenda. Our whole culture, what is culture? culture is grown in media, isn't it? If you get a Petri disc and you've got the media, it's like the substance, and then the culture is grown within it. That's exactly what's happening with us. Our culture is grown by the media. They tell us what to think, what to wear. These fashion statements is just fucking the latest thing that some arseholes dreamed up for us to wear just to profit from, that we change next year, Yes, this is it. You're saying how quickly things are going to change. They're not going back to normal, what we would call normal. And who would want them to go back to that? Aye? But if we don't wake up, then it's vaccinations, FEMA camps, fucking guillotines, 5G. Basically, I think all hell is going to unfold. I don't think it's going to be very good at all. This is why I'm basically doing this talk and posting these memes. Otherwise, I would just, because I gave up trying to wake people up, more or less. I would do stuff at night, and people go, "Oh, that was all right. Next." And I'm trying to say, no, fucking, I'm trying to inspire you to read and to wake up. And we have to do that now. But it's so hard trying to get through to your average Joe, isn't it? It's fucking torture. And I just don't get it, how they can live their life and all these other people are telling them about Bill Gates or these other things, and they just refuse to look at it. Well, why are they telling you about it? Surely they must, why not expand your parameters a bit and look at something outside of your current reality and maybe get a bigger perspective in the world? That's why I'm always open to new information. I was open to the Q and the Trump thing, even though I hated government. I was like, okay, let's take a look at it. Let's hope it is something good, because God knows we would love some kind of people, some military branch or whatever, of good guys, of heroes. They're taking down the ones that are raping our children on a daily basis. And all this Epstein thing is something. So to me, it's like managing the situation, because people have finding out about this and they are asking questions. So they've got to reveal a bit of it, and then they're just going to manage the discourse of it, but not really get underneath the Getty Museum, where basically the Queen is hanging out right now. I mentioned guys to you, Kate, Tony, and Santos, who used to talk about the Freeman stuff. Well, Tony Calvert, what was I going to say? Yeah, he knew I was going to talk to Stephen D. Kelly last night, and he says, ask Stephen where he thinks the Queen is. And I asked Stephen at the end of the interview last night, and he basically says, under the Getty. He says, her throne is under there. That's why Prince Harry is moved to just like 2 miles from the Getty, because Stephen, I think, has been a couple of levels down in there, and I think it's all, I've just before this thing started, I got a new TV because this screen that this is holding this up fell on my fucking TV and smashed the screen. So I was using another TV. It was very pixelated, so I bought a cheap TV today, and I've had so many cables, because we've got to have backups of your backups, because all this technology that we think is cutting edge is all just basically garbage, and we should have like free energy devices and no need for any of this kind of, dinosaur type technology that we call cutting edge. It's just obsolete crap compared to what's down there and the real technology that's getting used. Even to monitor us, I'm sure they've got technology that can pick up your aura or your energy field, and even if you start to rise in consciousness, it'll probably be in a wee alert on their system. There's a great movie called Josie and the Pussycats. There's a lot of truths in that about the music industry, and they have this bit in it where they actually go down into this kind of control area, and they show you where they put the subliminal messages on the backing tracks on the music. There was a guy called John Todd who disappeared, but he used to work in the music industry, and he says that what they used to do was used to get a recording from an album. They would take the master tape, and then they would do some kind of spell onto it using witchcraft and stuff, so that every copy made from the master tape would have these spells on it. And basically, when he started talking about that, there's some audios of it on YouTube, but he just disappeared off the face of the planet. So that movie, Josie and the Pussycats, is quite a fun wee movie, but in that, it shows you the control center, and they reveal quite a lot in that, because they do tell us in these movies what they're doing, but they make it entertainment, so we don't take it seriously. So just to finish this wee bit, I was wondering what I was going to talk tonight about, but thanks for your comments, folks, because it gives me a bit of inspiration to know that you're listening and for me to keep waffling on here, eh? But then I've got these false flags in the news that's basically, pure fear porn, as somebody mentioned earlier. I can't watch the news. It just actually, when you take a break from the news and you watch it, you can actually feel your skin crawl. It's like, can I tolerate that? What is that? It's just they're talking to you in such a fucking insidious way, just to try and bury their, because they understand the brain and how it works. We think they're talking to our conscious mind, but they're actually working on our subconscious all the time through advertisements and language, and basically they use illogical fallacies like you're either with us or you're with the terrorists. Well, gonna not be with neither, They just try and get your brain to think a certain way so that they can continue their evil agenda. And this is the time now where I've been talking about this stuff for 30 years. Like I mentioned, every time I see my dad now, I don't see him that much, but he says, I remember 25 years ago, I thought you were fucking mental. You told me about microchips, but, fucking, I'm seeing them on the news now. I was like, aye, please, God. If it could be just one thing, the one thing that if people understand that this virus is a lie, it's complete bullshit, if they can get that to wake them up, then could that open the doors to other stuff? And we should be having meetings in our local towns with any conspiracy theorists leading the meeting and trying to inspire others to educate ourselves, to stand up and get our dignity back. Is that so hard, Aye. So when people do call me a conspiracy theorist, I try not to take it too bad, I just feel sorry for them, but it's got to the point where their ignorance is putting all of us in danger. So I'll do one last. I'm going to try and keep these to an hour. If you've stayed for the full hour, thanks very much. If you're watching it now or later, I appreciate it. Here's another doctor. Unless you're in a serious accident, the best chance of living to a ripe old age is to avoid a doctor and hospital, yeah. And learn nutrition, exactly. Herbal medicine, natural medicine. These foods that we're eating is just pure poison. Even the fruit and vegetables are not as good as they could be. But imagine we lived in some place where apples were just ripening, falling off the trees, and we were just eating healthily. Our bodies would be under much less stress, and we'd feel much lighter and happier, And all the drugs that they give you, they don't actually treat you to try and heal you. They just mask the symptom so that you think you've not got that anymore, but it's an underlying condition. Like my son's got quite bad acne, and I say that's because all the shite you've been eating all this time. Exactly. How many times do you need to be right before it's no longer a theory? It's incredible how that word, they just put social distance and conspiracy theory. They just use these things, What's the other one these days? Self-isolate and in your social bubble or whatever the fuck it is. And that's how they use language to make us, like, for instance, if I say Scotland, you've got an idea in your head of what that is. If I say government, if I say Europe, but those things are not real. Scotland is not a thing. How can I say that? Everybody knows what Scotland is. No, it exists only in your imagination, only in your brain. Because if I say point to Scotland, what are you going to do? You're going to point to a piece of land? Well, it's just a land then, isn't it? It's not actually, there's the land, there's the sea, there's the sky. I don't think, obviously, all these countries are just jurisdictions to control the population within that jurisdiction. I do think races and cultures and stuff can be different, and you can have your own race and culture, and actually all the mixing of them that's going on these days through the mass refugee thing, there's an agenda behind that. But if you start to go far, if you start to go down that path too much, then you have to get to certain truths of what's actually going on, and the people that are behind that. And you're not allowed to criticise these people, and they're making it illegal to criticise them, and they use our sympathy and our empathy against us, because we all want to be nice people. Nobody wants to hate somebody else. But if you understand the reasons why there is mass immigration, and you understand the things behind it, you don't then have to hate these other people, we can all be of a common understanding of, okay, this is why it's happening. We've got a greater understanding. So maybe it would be better if we kept our own culture, because people only move really because they've not got work in their own culture. It's all based on the financial system because there's an agenda that we're meticulously planned, fucking decades into the future of what's actually going on. And we're just kept in the dark and fed bullshit. That's why you've got to inspire yourself to maybe I can inspire or Stephen or anyone, Sadio, at any point. Could somebody please inspire you to go and research this stuff and switch off your fucking football and your pro wrestling? No, whatever. Stuff that's just meaningless. It's just there because we're passing the time. Nobody's really got any direction, because what's their goals in this life is to make money and to have a bigger TV that doesn't actually bring you any happiness. Again, well said, Sadio. We should be in communities where you know everybody. We shouldn't fuck with Mother Nature or the natural world that we're in. We could actually use free energy and create like paradise in nature. I went for a walk yesterday at Birkhill train station, and basically there was this bit cordoned off with a gate that said it wasn't safe to go down. There used to have a clay mine, but I jumped the gate, said, fuck it, nobody's telling me where to go in nature. And there's this beautiful waterfall, and it wasn't a waterfall, it was like a fast running stream, and a river, a gorge. And it was really nice just to spend an hour and a half in nature, breathing it in. It just like felt much more natural. It felt much more like being a human than it does in, as Bob Marley called, the concrete jungle that we're living in, Aye. I've actually been at Bob Marley's grave twice, and that was quite mad in Jamaica. I could maybe tell you that story some other time. But anyway, there we go. We'll do maybe a couple more pictures, then we'll wrap this one up. So, yeah. And again, not to cure anyone. What's the word cure? You cure meat, don't you? These words that get used we don't understand the true meaning of them. Like another good word is history, is his story. They're telling us it's just a fucking story. The whole world's a story. They rewrite history constantly. Like if you're going to, in the future, they'll be remembering 2020, there was the big coronavirus pandemic. Oh, yes. Well, actually, no, there fucking wasn't. There was just a story about it that people bought, and all of a sudden it's history. You know what I mean? And they use these lies to fucking make up more lies to basically drain our energy from us. I can't read that one very well. I'm not even sure what it is. We'll finish with this one. This will be a good one. Right, so you you can't see it quite. I'll maybe have to take this away. I've got too fancy with my branding and stuff. Let's see. Overlay. None. Yeah. So now we're getting told about the paedophilia and stuff, yeah? But then there's, of course, the cannibalism, adrenochrome harvesting, and occult worship. So there's always more layers to this stuff, folks, isn't there? There's always more layers. That's why I never think I know it all. I'm always open to new information. Again, the Trumps thing, I looked into that. Now I've decided I think we should be our own knights in the shining armour rather than trust, big businessmen who hang out with paedophiles, It's just because they're doing it underground. They just sit tight, trust the plan. Aye, right. We have to fucking step up now, folks. This is the time. We have to communicate. The communication level, we can do it. We have to have faith. I mean, I lose faith, to be honest. I'm just saying we have to have faith because 2 or 3 of you are listening, and I'm kind of despondent. I don't think we're going to do it, ultimately. I think people are too far gone. But you've got to try, haven't you? You've got to get up with that spirit of hope and put your fucking elbow to the wheel, whatever it is, and try your best to improve things. So at the end of the day, at least when you face your maker, you can say, well, I gave it my best shot. It wasn't perfect, but overall, I tried. I tried to improve myself, and I tried to share love and help other people, which is really this is a thing. We all think we're very individual, but actually you are part of me. If I see you in my conscious reality, you're part of me. You're here. It's the world, isn't it? We're all part of each other. And the things that you don't like about other people are actually things about yourself that you don't like a lot of the time. And a lot of the words that you use when you're having a go of other people, if you reversed them and looked at them on yourself, then basically you should maybe listen to that. Yeah, you know, there's all this thing about children being rescued. I want to see it, okay, because we were told back in March that they were all going into the tunnels and everything. We're now at July, halfway through July. So unless I see fucking millions of children coming out, why not telling about it? And why, if Trump is such a great guy, why is he believing in Fauci and shutting the country down and putting lots of businesses out of business? Oh, it's all right. Nasara Jasara's going to come into play. Didn't worry about it. Maybe it is. I just think it's time we got conscious ourselves and focused on that, and help and support your neighbour. Get talking to your neighbour. Although it's no easy because most people are asleep and that's a crying shame. But welcome to day, folks. I'll be back tomorrow night to spout some more shite. Thanks very much for listening, and I've now got to go and tidy up the rest of my house after all the chaos that I just managed to make in time before this talk. Thanks again for listening. And by the way, I've got a sample ebook that's basically going to get you on my email list, and then I'm going to release other email books. And basically, if you're interested in hearing them, even the sample is free. Go and do it, because I've been trying this stuff for 25 years and no cunt's interested in it. I keep trying, But anyway, I think I wasn't doing comedy and shit like that to get money or famous. I was doing it to try and help people. So at least when I've been doing these the past few nights, I feel like I'm doing something, and that in itself is making me a bit more positive about life, So onwards and upwards, folks. Try and stay positive. Try and spread any light and joy. And if you see a wee chink in someone, just say, this is bullshit. Try and wake them up to the mask bullshit, because that is the saddest thing ever. It's so unbelievably, ridiculously sad to see these people walking around with masks. It's tragic. And on that note, thanks very much for listening. Cheers and out. Bye-bye.